Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole Rose Pauline Lalik, and we are here to present George Kelly's personal construct theory together with my partner, Joyce Ladringan. But first, before we jumped into his personal construct theory, we should know who George Kelly is. So let me introduce George Kelly to you. George Alexander Kelly was an American psychologist, therapist, educator, and personal theorist. But for those of you na hindi alam, he was not originally a psych major. Kasi he is a physics and mathematics degree holder, and afterwards, dun lang siya nag-take ng psychology. He is actually also a father or considered the father of cognitive clinical psychology, and is best known for his theory of personality, which is the personal construct na i-discuss natin mamaya after ko siyang i-introduce sa inyo. Actually, George Kelly was also a famed psychologist, best known for his contribution to personal construct theory. He is commonly referred to as the father of cognitive clinical psychology, and he played a role in the early development of the field of cognitive psychology. And we're up to the next slide. In an effort to understand the world, we develop personal constructs that serve as hypotheses and that make the world meaningful to us. For those of you na hindi alam kung ano ang construct is that represent the view you have constructed about the world as you experience it. It is your view after you experience something in this world, kung ano yung view mo doon sa pangyayari na yun or sa event na yun, ganon. On the other hand, your construct indicate that you are likely to construe the world as you continue to experience it. On the other hand, your construct or yung paniniwala mo ay nag-i-indicate kung paano mo titingnan ang ating mundo sa kung ano yung mga nai-experience mong bagay. We seek to understand the world around us and forecast the things or the event in our lives. If the construct na na-develop natin ay useful sa atin, i-keep natin yun syempre, diba? Hindi naman natin i-waste or itatapon lang yun. Kasi we know na magagamit din natin talaga yun. We generate constructs and hypotheses with which we try to anticipate and control in our lives. To understand someone, we must study his or her own personality theory. Katulad na ng example na nandito na you have a friend or roommate na umiiyak. Tatanungin mo kung anong nangyari sa kanya, kung bakit siya umiiyak, di ba? Tapos sasabihin niya, syempre wala, magkapabebe yan, wala, ganyan. Pero syempre, yung hypothesis mo is, may nakita kang chopped onions and kinongclude mo na dahil sa chopped onions, kaya siya umiiyak. Then, syempre, afterwards, nalaman mo na kung bakit siya umiiyak, ganyan, di ba? So, talagang, it's a must na talagang pinag-aaralan natin yung sarili nating personality theory and yung personality theory ng iba para mas maintindihan natin sila. Now, let us jump to the next slide. George Kelly's theory is called meta theory, or a theory about theories. According to Kelly, all people, including those who build the personality theories, anticipate events by the meaning or interpretations they place on events. Our interpretation toward an event is called constructs. Kung paano natin i-interpret yung bagay na nangyari, ang tawag doon ay constructs. Kung paano natin i-view sa ating point of view ang mga pangyayari na nangyayari sa atin, na i-experience natin. Ganon. Also, according to Kelly, people are not victim of circumstances. Hindi sila biktima ng circumstances because alternative constructions are always available, or also called as constructive alternativism. Kelly assumed that all of our present interpretations of the universe are subject to revision or replacement. Pwede siyang ma-revise, pwede siyang mapalitan. Pero, ang problema ay nakaayon sa atin yon. Minsan kasi ayaw nating mag-welcome ng mga new ideas. Hindi tayo always open sa new ideas, yung ibang mga tao. And he also agreed to Adler na a person's interpretation of events is more important than the events themselves. It's true, no? Mas importante kung paano natin i-view yung events sa mismong pangyayari. Kasi, yun yung magbibigay sa atin ng lesson kung paano natin i-view yung mga events. Kung ano yung point of view natin sa mga ganong events or something ganon. I hope nagigets nyo yun. And, his personal construct theory, he emphasized that the world is constantly changing. So, what is accurate at one time may not be accurate at another. So, totoo yun, no? The world is constantly changing. There is no permanent thing in this world but change. Ganyan. And also, naniniwala din si Kelly na ang construct ay bipolar. Yeah. And it consists of two opposing sides. For example, active versus passive, unfriendly versus friendly, and stable versus changing, and so on and so forth. And also, merong dalawang side when it comes to applying sa events. The emergent pole is the one na active. Yun yung talagang ginagamit natin sa pag-apply sa mga events na nangyayari. While the other one is called implicit pole, which is not actively applied. Ganon. And also, sabi dito, it is essential to remember the emphasis on individuality in personal construct theory. Constructs are inherently personal because they are based on each person's life experiences. Each person's system of construct is unique, and it is the individual nature of this experience that form the difference between people. Yeah. Magkakaiba tayo ng pinagdadaanan, and sa mga experiences natin yun, magkakaiba din tayo ng point of views. Maaring sa iba, maliit lang yun, pero sa atin, sobrang laki nun, ganon. And also, lahat tayo unique. For example, kasi merong dalawang tao, and yung dalawang tao na yun, parehas sila ng pinagdadaanan. Pero at the same time, hindi sila parehas ng point of view. Iba yung pagtatanaw ng isang tao dun sa nai-experience niya, at iba rin yung isang tao. Katulad nga ng kahit twins kayo, hindi pa rin kayo parehas. Magkaparehas lang kayo sa mukha, pero never kayo magkakaparehas sa pag-iisip. And George Kelly also explains sa kanyang construct theory na in one basic postulate, which is the fundamental postulate na i-discuss later on. And there are also 11 supporting corollaries. The basic, it says here that the basic postulate assumes that a person process psychological channelized by the ways in which that person anticipates events. In other words, person's behavior depends on how they predict their future. Kelly said that people are tantalized not by their past but their view for the future. Yun na nga, no? Person's behavior depend on how they will view or how they will predict their future. Siyempre, for example, kaya ka nag-aaral kasi you're looking forward na maging successful, di ba? So, parang yun yung view mo sa future na mag-aaral ako ngayon, gagawin ko to ngayon kasi I want to be successful, I want to be rich, di ba? Ganon. May mga point of view tayo na ganon. Ahead. We're thinking ahead para sa ating future. So, yun lang po. For our next presenter, it's Joyce Ladringan po.
Good day guys, I'm Joyce and this is the second part of our discussion about the personal construct theory of George Kelly. I hope na marami kayong matutunan sa ating discussion and I will try my best to explain it in a way na maiintindihan natin lahat. But first, review muna tayo dun sa nauna nating discussion dahil bakang iba sa atin ay nakalimutan na yung mga important details na dapat ay alam nating lahat. Personal construct theory is a meta-theory because it is a theory of theories. And according to George Kelly, lahat ng tao, including those who build personality theories, anticipate events by interpretations or meanings they place on those events. And those interpretations, meanings ay tatawag nating constructs. And our constructs are always open for revision or replacement. Bakit? Dahil according to George Kelly, we are living in this world and this world is constantly changing. Kaya maaari na yung interpretation natin ngayon ay accurate, sa bukas makalawa hindi na siya accurate dahil nga sa nagbabago ang mundo. And our constructs ay pwedeng mapalitan, pwede siyang mabago anytime. At kahit na si George Kelly mismo, he hoped that his theory would be replaced by a better one. But unfortunately, namatay na siya noong March 6, 1967 bago pa niya matapos yung revision ng kanyang personal construct theory. Okay, moving on, let's discuss now the constructive alternativism. While there's only one true reality, reality is always experienced from one or another perspective or alternative construction. Why? Because we construe reality in different ways. So, ang sinasabi lang ng constructive alternativism ay yung dinidiscuss ko kanina na our constructs are always open for replacement or revision. And tama yung sinasabi ni George Kelly na we are not victims of circumstances. Bakit? Because alternatives are always available and we always have the alternative way of looking at things. Ang nagiging problema lang dito sa pagre-reconstruct ay yung iba sa atin ay hindi sila open to accept and to entertain new ideas. Kasi for them, hassle lang yun, disturbing lang, di ba? Kasi for example, sa isang theory, bakit ko pa iisipin or bakit pa ako mag-attempt na papalitan or dadagdagan yung isang theory na well-established na? Ganun yung nangyayari. But still, pwede pa rin siyang mabago, pwede pa rin siyang mapalitan anytime. Okay, so tatandaan lang natin itong constructive alternativism. Ang sinasabi lang nito, all of our present interpretations of the universe are subject to replacement or revision. Okay, I hope na sana naintindihan natin yun at natandaan natin yung ibig sabihin ng constructive alternativism. Personal construct theory is expressed in one fundamental postulate or assumption and elaborated by 11 supporting corollaries. So, let's discuss now the fundamental postulate or assumptions. His fundamental postulate says this: a person's processes are psychologically channelized by the way in which he anticipates events. A person's activities are guided by the constructs he uses to predict events. Therefore, it is the anticipated future that primarily guides our behavior. In other words, our behavior are directed by the way we see the future. Our present view of the future shapes our action. So for example, tumalan ng example to dito na yung mga nabubuntis tapos nag-online selling. Diba sabi nila kapag doon nag-online selling, ibig sabihin buntis. Pero ito, example lang natin ito. So, bakit kaya siya nag-online selling? So, kaya siya nag-online selling ay dahil sa view niya, sa future, gusto niya in the future maibigay lahat ng pangailangan ng anak niya. Gusto niyang mabigyan yung anak niya ng magandang buhay. Kaya yun yung reason kung bakit siya nag-online selling. Kaya ganun yung act niya dahil sa view niya sa future na mabigyan ng magandang buhay yung anak niya. According to George Kelly, dapat daw ay hindi tayo ginajudge by our past, but by our view of the future. For example, nabuntis ng maaga. Dapat hindi natin siya ginajudge by that na nabuntis siya ng maaga. Dapat yung view niya sa future, yung pagpupursige niya para maiayos yung kalagayan niya, 'di ba? Para mabigyan ng magandang kinabukasan yung anak niya. For example, nga yung pag-online selling, 'di ba? Dito na po pasok yung constructive alternativism na dinidiscuss natin kanina, 'di ba? Na instead na tignan mo yun as kasalanan, pasakit, pahirap, hindi ka na magiging masaya dahil hindi ka na dalaga, 'di ba? Gamitin mo yung motivation for you to work hard para mabigyan ng yung anak mo ng magandang buhay, 'di ba? Constructive alternativism. We always have alternative ways of looking at things. Pero going back sa dinidiscuss nating fundamental postulate, ang sinasabi nga lang nito na our behavior are directed by the way we see the future. Now, let's discuss the 11 supporting corollaries of George Kelly. First, we have the construction corollary or the similarities among events. A person anticipates events by construing their replications. We anticipate by interpreting. So according to George Kelly, no two events are exactly alike. Yet we construe similar events so that they are perceived as being the same. Pero no two events are exactly alike. For example, yung sunrise kahapon at yung sunrise ngayon ay hindi sila pareho. Though they are similar event na sunrise, 'di ba? Na kapag sunrise na maliwanag na, sumisilip na si haring araw, pero they are not exactly alike. Bakit? Dahil iba yung experience ng sunrise kahapon at iba yung experience ng sunrise ngayon. Okay? So, pino-point out lang ng construction corollary na people are forward-looking. What does it mean? So, example, ay, mamaya, alas 6, maliwanag na yan, sisikat na yung araw. Kasi kahapon, yun yung na-experience niya na alas 6 na, maliwanag na, kasi sumikat na yung araw. So, kaya niya nasabi na mamayang alas 6, maliwanag na din kasi niya sa experience niya kahapon. So, we anticipate events by construing replications. The second corollary is the individuality or the similarities among people. A person differ from each other in their construction of events. No two people interpret events in the same way. So, kanina, event, ngayon naman ay tao. So, according to George Kelly, no two people interpret events in the same way. Bakit? Kasi iba naman yung experience ko, iba din yung experience mo. Magkakaiba tayo ng experiences. Kaya naman, we interpret events in different way. Kahit ngayong identical twins with identical environment, lumaki sila sa parehong environment, they interpret events in different ways. Bakit? Kasi magkaiba pa rin sila ng experience kahit identical twins sila. Though, sabi ni George Kelly, experiences can be shared. And through that, we find the common ground for construing experiences. Pero dahil nga sa individual differences, communication is never perfect. So, ang ending, ito nga sa individuality corollary natin, no two people interpret events in the same way. Now, let's discuss the third corollary, which is the organization corollary or the relationship among constructs. Each person characteristically evolves for his convenience in anticipating events, a construction system embracing ordinal relationships between constructs. We develop an organized, hierarchical system of constructs. So, hierarchical, ibig sabihin, inaayos natin yung constructs natin. Ibig sabihin, merong superordinate position at may subordinate position. So, para saan ito? Para ma-minimize yung incompatibilities ng mga constructs and inconsistencies. And through this, it allows us to anticipate events by ways that transcend contradictions and conflicts. The next corollary is the dichotomy of constructs or dichotomy. A person's construction system is composed of a finite number of dichotomous constructs. We make bipolar constructs. So according to Kelly, in order to form a constructs, kailangan nating makita yung similarities pati na yung pagkakaiba ng isang event. At sa pamamagitan nun, makikita natin how they are alike, syempre, at kung paano natin sila i-organize. So, according to Kelly, all constructs are dichotomous or bipolar. So, ang example ng bipolar constructs dito ay selfish versus unselfish. So, black, white, ugly, pretty, tall, small. So, yun yung ating mga bipolar constructs. The next corollary is the choice between dichotomies. A person chooses for himself that alternative in a dichotomized construct which he anticipates the greater possibility for extension and definition of his system. We are free and able to choose among alternative of the construct. So sabi nga natin kanina, all construct are dichotomous. So free tayo kung ano yung pipiliin natin dun sa dalawang dichotomous na yon. For example nga yung selfish, unselfish, honest, dishonest, 'di ba? Yun yung mga example ng dichotomous natin. But according to George Kelly, people choose between those dichotomous based on how we anticipate events. Most likely, people choose those actions that most likely extend their future range of choice. The next corollary is the range of convenience. A construct is convenient for the anticipation of a finite range of events only. Each construct has a certain focus and it is not useful for everything. So, dito nga sinasabi ni George Kelly na hindi lahat ng construct natin ay applicable sa lahat ng oras, sa lahat ng event, applicable yung constructs mo na yon. So, hindi. Kasi nga, limited lang siya into a particular range of convenience. So dito na distinguish ni Kelly yung concept and construct. So yung concept magkakasama lahat ng elements na pare-pareho yung property at ine-exclude nila yung elements na iba yung property. Kasi nga hindi naman natin pwedeng pagsamahin yung magkaiba. So for example, ang concept ay tall. So lahat ng mga elements with extended height, kasama sila sa concept na tall. Pero yung mga hindi nakasama, yung walang mga extended height, hindi sila kasama dun sa concept na tall. For example is fast, independent, black, white, or whatsoever, hindi na sila kasama dun sa concept na tall. Kasi nga, ulitin ko, hindi nga lahat ng construct natin ay applicable sa lahat. According to George Kelly, yung construct natin ay limited lang siya to a finite range of convenience. Our next corollary is the experience and learning. A person's construction system varies as he successively construes the replication of events. We reconstruct in the light of experience. So, bago pa mangyaring isang event, meron na tayong mga guess, meron tayong mga prediction. At kapag nangyari na yung isang event, doon na yung time na kailangan na nating i-evaluate yung ating mga construct kung i-validate pa natin yung existing construct natin o kailangan na natin siyang i-reconstruct. So, nagkakaroon lang ng reconstructions as a result of experiences. Dahil nga, sabi na natin kanina, may mga interpretations tayo, may mga construct tayo na accurate ngayon at hindi na siya accurate bukas o sa makaalawa dahil nga sa pagbabago ng mundo. At hindi lang yun, di ba? Dahil sa ating pagtanda, may mga constructs tayo noong 10 years old tayo na hindi na siya applicable ngayong 20 years old tayo. So we should continually revise our constructs to match our experiences. Our next corollary is the adaptation to experience or modulation corollary. The variation in a person's construction system is limited by the permeability of the constructs within whose range of convenience the variance lie. Some constructs we develop are flexible and open to experience. Others are not. So sabi nga natin kanina, yung ating mga constructs ay limited lang siya in a particular finite range of convenience. So kailangan nating i-revise yung ating mga constructs to match our experiences. Pero sa pagre-revise ng ating mga constructs, depende pa rin yun sa permeability ng constructs. So, pag sinabi nating permeability, ito yung ability ng isang construct to accept, to adapt, to absorb new knowledge, new ideas. So, permeable ang isang construct kapag capable siya for modification. At masasabi naman natin impermeable yung isang construct kapag hindi siya capable for modification. Our next corollary is the commonality or the similarities among people. To the extent that one person employs a construction of experience which is similar to that employed by another, the psychological processes are similar to the other person. If our construction system, our understanding of reality is similar, so will be our experiences, our behaviors, and our feelings. So, oo, kanina meron tayong differences among people which is the individuality na nagsasabi na no two people interpret events in the same way. Meron din tayong similarities among people na nagsasabi naman na hindi kailangan ma-experience ng isa yung na-experience ng isa para maging psychologically similar sila. Ang kailangan nila ay i-construe yung isang event in the same fashion, in the same way. So, people in the same group, makikita natin yung resemblance sa kanilang behavior at sa kanilang characteristics. Okay, so, but still, George Kelly assume na walang tao ang may parehong interpretation sa kanilang experiences. Our last corollary is the social processes or the sociality. To the extent that one person construes the construction processes of another, he may play a role in a social process involving the other person. Social interactions entail understanding other constructs. So, according to Kelly, people with the same cultural groups, not merely because they have the same behavior, not because they expect the same things, but because they construe their experiences in the same fashion, in the same way. So according to him, we can communicate to other people because we can construe their personal constructs, and we are not just observing yung kanilang behavior, hindi lang natin basta inoobserbahan yung kanilang behavior, pero titignan din natin what that behavior means to them. Okay, so George Kelly suggests that people are actively involved in interpersonal relationships and realize that they are part of the other person's construction system. After the discussion, we can conclude na si Kelly is an optimistic person. Pati nasasabi yun, ano yung mga evidence natin? Siyempre, sinasabi niya na yung ating construct ay pwede nating i-reconstruct anytime. Diba? Kasi nga hindi naman lahat ng construct natin ay applicable sa lahat ng panahon, sa lahat ng pagkakataon. So we can reconstruct it anytime to match in our experiences. Aside from that is yung another evidence ay yung incompatible constructs. So, incompatible constructs na nga yun, pero nakita niya pa rin yung positive side, yung silver lining nung pagsasama ng dalawang incompatible constructs. Nasasabi niya nga nakakakita siya ng stability, di ba, in most of our actions. Sinasabi niya ng dalawang incompatible na constructs ay nagpo-fall siya sa larger superordinate constructs. Okay, so for me, yung number one evidence kung bakit ko nasabi yun is yung kanyang constructive alternativism na sinasabi niya na laging may alternative way, diba? Which is true naman, laging may alternative way we always have alternative way of looking at things. So, we are not the victim of circumstances. All we need to do is explore yung alternative na yun. according to George Kelly. So guys, thank you for listening and I hope na marami kayong natutunan sa ating discussion. Again, thank you!